Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to do something a little bit different, actually a lot different, and it's going to be a book review, but not just any book review. It's of Lilly Singh's book, How to Be a Boss. I didn't have to do that. I literally have the book right here. About 5 years ago, I was really into Superwoman, aka Lilly Singh. Like, really. She definitely was like my favorite channel on YouTube, and I definitely connected to her humor, probably because I was really young and I didn't know what good comedy was. Anyways, when she came out with her book in 2017, I wasn't that big of a fan, but I still was really interested in what she had to offer when it came to writing. So I picked up the book at Target, and I believe it was around $27, but it was on sale. So here is the proof, 30% off. Anyways, I picked up the book because I wanted to support her, you know, as a fellow creator of color. It was mostly the 30% off, and that is the only reason that I bought it. All jokes aside, Lilly has done some great charity work and great humanitarian works just in general, so she is a good person, but her writing is not the greatest. But yeah, let's get right into the book review. The book, right off the bat, feels like it was created to boost her ego, which I feel really bad about saying, but it's not that different from the show that she has, A Little Late with Lilly Singh, which also serves as another giant ego boost. I mean, even the author card kind of screams me, which is not what I wanted to look for in a supposedly humble self-help book. A normal book would be like, Lilly lives at home in Canada with her dog and her boyfriend, but this book is like, Lilly is the funniest YouTuber ever, read this book or you won't be successful and you're a loser. I'm not gonna lie, Lilly really comes off as braggy, kind of like, I'm the baddest and no one can top me and this is my book and you have to read it. Lilly comes off as that person, and you know that person at your work, at school, no one likes that person. And I'm still trying so hard to like her and keep an unbiased mind as I read this book. I continued reading and I found out that How to Be a Boss is filled with fake deep quotes that I'd probably find coming out of 24-year-old Noah Centineo's mouth rather than a very mature, grown 30-year-old Lilly Singh's mouth, or 29, I think she's 29. I stand corrected, she is 31, sorry. In part 1, she writes this like 10-sentence long POV from Mario. Yes, the cartoon game Mario. His point of view, and honestly, to make what point? I'll read the quote. Video games are a great analogy for life. You go through levels, get thrown off by obstacles, and face several enemies. There's a lot more, but honestly, I don't want to make this video too long. It's... But honestly, who does that sound like to you?
And before I go, I just want to say, it matters not what you've done, but what you do with what you've done for others. Thank you.
Anyways, the book unfortunately isn't well written. She talks for a whole chapter about Game of Thrones to make an unidentifiable point that I had to read 3 times because I couldn't grasp the full meaning, which is kind of crazy. I'm usually good at analyzing text, but like, I feel like it was written by my 5th grade sister trying to make a point, and she can't. A lot of what she says in this book could be condensed exponentially too. It ends up being a, let me see, like a 350-page book that could have easily been 100 pages or 150. Besides lengthiness, the recurring theme of this book seems to be discrediting other authors in an attempt to push this me mentality. Here's a little snippet, which is not the best example, but I really did not feel like rereading this book again. Someone smart once said, everything you want is just outside your comfort zone. To be honest, I don't know who said it, so let's just pretend I am that smart person. I said it. Yay me. Actually, it was said by Robert G. Allen, best-selling author, but whatever. Honestly, I know she's trying to be humorous and play into that, like, appeal to her younger target audience, but when it's a lengthy book and some of the stuff is meant for a more mature audience, it's hard to get through just 350 pages of that and that type of writing style, which is frankly not really helping anyone. Like, I know the excerpt seems a little childish, and you might be like, Allie, she's just making a joke. It's not a big deal. It's just a facade. It's just a character she's playing. Honestly, it's not. My mom always tells me that all jokes have some semblance of truth to it. So she definitely has, even if a little bit, a superiority complex. But I don't want to read into her as a person. I respect her as a creator. She's hustled her way to the top. I'm just analyzing the writing. I have nothing against Lily, except for A Little Late with Lily Singh, which is another video entirely. In her chapter, Have Fewer Emotions, she talks about how her lack of emotional intelligence is actually a positive thing. And when you're feeding a child's mind, which is her video target audience and probably the target audience that would pick up this book, it's not a good thing, because these are the people who are about to go into society. They're our future. You don't want to raise a bunch of emotionally unintelligent zombies. But she justifies this by saying it helps get work done faster if she's detached. And I can be very emotionally detached sometimes, a little bit unsympathetic at times, so I know where she's coming from, but this message could have been conveyed a little bit better. It honestly makes Lily a tad unlikable. I'll read a tiny excerpt from that section or that chapter. It doesn't paint Lily in the best light. While I was on tour last year, I faced some very stressful situations. Sometimes just moments before a show, a costume would go missing, a dancer wasn't ready, or better yet, my earpiece would stop working. When anyone would try to help, she would brush them off and say she was fine, which she was clearly not. In a situation where 14 other people are relying on you to do your part and get work done, emotions are the last thing you want to display. Not only does it create a negative energy, but it also affects your work. Now, you might be thinking that I sound like a total jerk, and that's fair. You do. Here, she clearly has a situation in which one of her employees gets frustrated and upset. And as the person in charge of the project, she should be sympathetic towards them and help them and try to make sure the project runs smoothly and be in tune with the other people working for her. But that's clearly not the case. Even though this is not something that's good, I do appreciate Lily's hustle. She always works at like the pinnacle of productivity, and I aspire to be like that one day and have a career similar to hers one day in content creating. She is living the best life, and I am here in my bedroom breaking things in the middle of a pandemic doing a book review on her book. I never thought that sentence would come out of my mouth, but here we are. Honestly, there are some valuable self-motivational tips in this book. I won't entirely discredit it. It is an okay book, but the amount of name dropping and hashtags on every single page make it a pretty uncaptivating read and pretty surface level. Like, I could find anything she wrote on the internet. It doesn't give us any insight into her life, and it doesn't provide anything that's really of substance. But like, it's still an okay book. Her chapter titles are like, I'll read it off. You Are Not a Parking Ticket, and Be Santa, and others. I mean, they're meant to spark like intrigue and make people like interested in like what's gonna happen in this chapter. But honestly, they just come off as weird. I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was really funny in You Are Not a Parking Ticket, where she relentlessly complains about a friend's sense of entitlement and yet does not acknowledge her own, even till this day. I'll read a part. I once had a friend who was awesome. He was a truly nice guy, very polite and pleasant to be around. Over time, I noticed that he had one characteristic I didn't particularly enjoy, and that was his sense of entitlement. During an argument, he would assume that it was everyone's job to nurture his feelings and make them a priority. If his accomplishments were not celebrated to the extreme, he would feel disrespected. If he made plans and they didn't go exactly where he wanted, he would become enraged. I didn't understand why he had this entitlement complex until I met his family. Within moments, it was clear that he had grown up surrounded by constant validation. Every sentence was praise for their godlike son, who was the pride and joy of the entire human race. Every single accomplishment, no matter how big or small, garnered celebratory gifts, cake, and a roundtable discussion about how great my friend was. Blah, blah, blah. There's more, but I don't feel like reading it. I know she's talking about her friend, but does it sound like someone we know? Someone who can't take criticism on her TV show? Someone who, if they have projects that don't go as planned or aren't as well received by the public, she gets angry and takes it as hate. Might sound like someone we know, but I won't get into that. I'll read a piece on her bit on validation and stuff. She says that she feels immune to like negative comments and validation feels great. Obviously, she's human. Obviously, we all feel happy when we see a happy comment or like someone says something nice about us. We all feel negatively when people say negative things about us. And she talks about validation being temporary, which obviously it is. But I think what she fails to do is actually read her own book. Time and time again, she's expressed anger at the people who like create critiques on her work, on her videos, on her persona as a late night host, and she doesn't take those into account and use them to make herself better, which she talks about doing in this book. So she doesn't use her own advice. And this is her last sentence. This is her closing remarks for "You Are Not a Parking Ticket." If you're reading this and feel offended, I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath and let your guard down. Don't close this book and go watch Barney videos on YouTube to make yourself feel better. It's a beautiful thing to let achievements make you feel good rather than praise and other fluffy things. You're not a parking ticket. Don't get so easily validated. Participation ribbons are for country fairs, not life. You don't get one for being born.
But the thing is,
Lily constantly raves on and on about herself, about how she's this groundbreaker and she is a bisexual woman of color and she's doing all these things and she's changing the world and she's taking in all of this validation, which she talks about in this book. It's a great thing. But again, her ignoring the critiques and her ignoring people's opinions that are different than her has been leading to her downfall as a popular creator. I said this once and I'll say this again. The book was not terrible, but it wasn't the best. I am so glad it's over. There's only so many rhetorical questions a girl can read. But honestly, it was a simple yet colorful book and I didn't throw up reading it. So it wasn't terrible. In summary, it was Lily Singh consistently talking about tips to improve your life, her own money, her fame, how good this book is going to be, her obsessive friendship with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. It got very repetitive, but honestly, Lily, if you're ever seeing this, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. There's a lot of stuff that you could improve on, but it wasn't terrible. So thank you for writing it, and glad I got to read it. If I had to buy it again, I would not. I'm sorry. And I say that simply because a lot of the information that was in this book, I could do one search on a mommy wellness blog and find all the information. But thank you for writing it, and thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, please like this video, subscribe, share it to your friends if they want to know what this book was about. I don't know. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow. Bye!